Okay. All right, so start, tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, Mr. Lyda, thank you for calling me the other day to just kind of tell me a few things about the process. I do appreciate that. I know you want to make it informal, to be comfortable and that kind of thing. And of course, we see the video, that's just part of, that's part of the process now when you interview for superintendent. I've gone through a process very similar to that. But I do appreciate the board. I do appreciate you selecting me as one of your candidates. That's certainly an honor, certainly a privilege. I've been very fortunate to work in the Gunnersville school system. I've learned a lot. I've had many leadership opportunities, but that I'm about to go over here in a few minutes. But again, I do appreciate the opportunity you've given me to come and interview tonight. But before I start introducing myself to you, I want to introduce my wife who is with me tonight. This is Amy Reeves. She is Amy Rollins. She is from Pisgah, Alabama. She is a graduate of this school system. And we were talking. She said, "Well, do you want me to go?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know if I really want you to go." So she said, "Well, who's going to tell you what you did wrong?" I said, "Well, that's a good point." So she's definitely a big supporter of mine, but at the same time, she wants to critique me. She wants me to be at my best in everything that I do, whether it's a husband, whether it's a father, whether it's a principal or a superintendent or whatever the case may be. So I do appreciate her coming and being a part of this process as well. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am married. I've got 2 kids. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Last night after church, we drove up to Alphaville to meet my parents. We dropped off the kids, and let me say that last night was the best night of rest I have had in a long time. So it was definitely a relaxing evening. But at the same time, getting ready for this, we needed that extra time to get ready for this interview process, and that's what I did last night. But I do have 2 kids, 3-year-old John Witt and 1-year-old Patrick. Now, a little bit about myself, what I've been doing during my career. I've been at Gunnersville City Schools this is my 19th year. I was hired as a high school teacher where I taught social studies for 1 year. Then I transferred to the middle school where I was a teacher for 6 years, and then I was promoted to assistant principal for the remaining 4. So I was at the middle school for, I believe, 11 years total, if I'm not mistaken, or 10 years. So that was a total of 11 from high school and then to middle school. Later I was promoted to principal at Cherokee Elementary. I've been there ever since. I'm in my 8th year there. So if my math is correct, this is my 19th year in the school system. I have done a lot of different things in the school system. I have served on a lot of different committees. I've been on the leadership team for the last 16 years. I have worked on various committees. I've been on the calendar committee, the professional development committee, with RTI. I've also worked with SACS. I have served on many different committees with SACS as a teacher and also as a principal. A couple of years ago, I was asked to coordinate SACS for our school district. Myself and a colleague, we did that together. That was a very good experience for me, something that I learned a lot from. So it's my understanding that SACS is coming up here in the next couple of years, or advanced ed is what we call it now. So I do have experience in that area as well. I have coached at the high school level. I've coached at the middle school level, basketball, football, also with track. That's something that I enjoyed, coaching athletics when I was doing that at the time. And I've also coordinated professional development opportunities with our school system. I've even trained staff as whatever the latest and greatest in technology was at that particular time. I've been able to do that in the past few years as well. But the reason I'm here tonight is because of Gunnersville. They've given me many opportunities in leadership, and that's, I'm very blessed that I can say that. And that's why I'm here tonight, because the goal of mine is to become superintendent, whether it's in this school system or another school system. But what I like about this school system, I know it's a great school system, and I'm not going to get ahead with the question because that's what I'm going to talk about here shortly.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Reeves. And we'll start with the first question. Why are you interested in leading Jackson County Schools? As our new superintendent and leader of our successful school district, how would you initially approach your new position?
Well, this is a great school system. As I said earlier, my wife is a graduate from Pisgah High School. You know, she's, let me back up here for a minute. Sorry about that. No, my wife is a graduate of Pisgah school system. She is successful. She is a teacher. She's got many friends who are attorneys, who are doctors, who are businessmen, who are educators, and I know the type of graduate that this school system produces, and I want to be a part of that. I know that in looking at different school systems to be a part of, you know, this is one that I want to bring my family to. I believe we're a good fit for you. I believe you're a good fit for us. And you know, this is just a school system that I would like to be a part of.
Follow-up question by Mr. West.
No question.
Mr. Story.
No question.
Mr. White.
No,
Mr. Kent.
Okay, let me preface my comments, questions by telling you two things.
Okay.
This is a main group. I'm warning you, this is a main group. So our questions may be tough on purpose. When I ran for Board of Education, I campaigned on the premise that I will work for the good of the kids in Jackson County and see that they have opportunities for good education. Okay, then being on the board has allowed me to do some good things, I think, for kids in Jackson County. But one of the best things in my mind that I can contribute to is select a good superintendent that will bring benefits to our education system. And that will allow these kids that we have attending our school to advance. With good jobs, a good life, etc. So we take this responsibility very seriously. And we don't mean to offend anybody, any candidate. But in order to accomplish our goals, we feel that we need to learn as much about the candidate as we can. You know, you are aware that a lot of systems, when they have a vacancy for superintendent, they contract with a consulting firm, and that costs big dollars, but we chose not to go that route, and instead to leave those dollars in the budget so that those kids in our system might realize a benefit greater than the superintendent. Now, we're not professionals at this job, but we're conscientious about this job. Okay? All right. I do have a question.
Okay.
And this question has a couple of parts. Please indicate how you will approach the following as our new superintendent. The failure of some principals or supervisors to properly document problems that they encounter with school personnel.
Okay. I can answer that for you. Do you mind if I stand and sit so I can kind of walk around and then come sit down at the same time? Would y'all mind if I do that? All right, so that's going to put me a little more at ease. So, Dr. Bailey, if you don't mind my doing that. First of all, when you're making decisions regarding the school system, you've got to do what's right and what's best for the kids. As a board, we need to come together. We need to talk about the vision. We need to talk about the mission. And every decision we make, whether it comes to spending, whether it comes to hiring teachers, it needs to reflect that vision. Everything that we do. I believe in doing what is right. I believe in people, when they make decisions or when situations are taking place, I want to treat people how I want to be treated. You You know, that's what my mom and dad taught me. They taught me to be a good person, to do what's right. Not half the time, not 3/4 of the time, but every single time to do what's right. So let me get back to your question. Let's say that we had an individual that was coming in late to school. Well, that's happened in my situation, and I needed to deal with that. I am the principal of that school. I can't have that happen. Why can I not have that happen? Because, well, if this person is showing up late every day, what are the other teachers going to do? They're going to show up late as well. That's not good. We can't have that happen. So this is what I would do. I'd talk to that individual, just a simple conversation. I would document that we had a conversation, and then I would see where it went from there. You know, we would go over expectations. We'd go over procedures. You know, I handed you the handbook. We went over that at the first of the year. This is what time we show up for work. This is what time you can leave at the end of work. So these are the things that we expect. This is what the board expects. This is what superintendent expects, and this is what I expect as your principal. So that's what we would. That's how I handle situations. Now, in that particular case, the situation improved. 3-4 months later down the road, guess what happened again? Started developing a pattern of being late again. So I documented. I had her back in my office. Things were improving again. And then another year down the road, we get back in the same pattern. At that point, I went to my assistant superintendent, invited her to the school, and then we met with that individual, and then everything from that point forward improved. You know, she didn't want me to write a letter of reprimand at that point, but why did I do those things? Well, I had documentation. So if those patterns continue over a longer period of time, then eventually I'm going to have to take her before the board, because we can't have that. We need our employees showing up on time. We need them to supervise our kids. Our kids are getting there at 7 o'clock. You know, some of my employees come at 7, some come in at 7:15, but I can't have employees coming in at 7:30, 7:35 after our kids are there. It's a bad reflection on everybody. So in dealing with employees, you know, I want to deal with them, and I want to treat them like I want to be treated. I think that's very important.
Okay. And another question is, how would you deal with the failure of employees to do purchase orders religiously?
All right, could you expound upon that a little bit? What purchase orders and religion? I'm sorry, I'm not following right there.
In our system, I don't know how to do it is, but maybe it's accidental, but we have purchase orders. We have a failure of some teachers, principals, etc., to not do a purchase order on purchase of supplies or material. That can be a problem. As superintendent, if that happened, how would you deal with it?
Well, there are procedures in place. You know, in the current school system that I'm in right now, there are certain procedures in place, and we expect our employees to abide by those procedures. Again, if that's not happening, I would expect the principal to handle that at that level. Then I think it would come to me as superintendent if it were to continue. But we can't have people spending when they're not authorized to be spending. You know, there needs to be procedures in place where we go through an approval process. So what happens at my school? Let's say with their instructional money. Let's say the teacher wants $150 supplies at Walmart. She'll fill out the PO. She'll fill out the things that she needs. That PO comes to me pre-approved. So I will mark it up, or I will sign it. I will send it to my superintendent. He will sign off. He will also give it to his CSFO to make sure that the money is there as well. Then it gets back into the hands of the teacher. That's the procedures that we have in place. I expect my employees to follow those procedures. That's why procedures are there, to maintain order.
Score? Any other questions?
You mentioned some familiarity with our district, our system, our county system. I heard you saying you wouldn't mind sending your children to our school system.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And keeping them here through high school.
Correct.
Thank you very much. We do have a good system. So you do have enough confidence in it to to use it for your own.
She's a graduate of the school system. I apologize earlier for getting a little nervous. I needed to stand up. That helps me. But that would be the plan. What kind of message would that send if I'm the superintendent of the school system and my kids go to Scottsboro? What kind of message am I sending to my employees? What kind of message am I sending to my teachers, to my staff here? In my opinion, that's not a good message. You know, we have had board members in the past that sent their kids to private school. They didn't even go through the public school. That sends a bad message to teachers. I've lived that. I've heard the complaints. I've heard the grumbling. Again, I believe in doing what's right. You know, if this is going to be a part of my school system, that's where my kids are going to go to school. You know, earlier, you know, she is a graduate of Pisgah High School. And as I was mentioning earlier, you know, in getting to know her friends over these years, I know that there have been a lot of successful people run through the school system. So it is successful. And again, I don't mind my kids going through the school system. You know, if I am appointed as your superintendent, we're going to figure out a place to, you know, take our kids. What community would that be right now? I'm not sure. But yes, my kids would go through the school system.
Thanks, sir.
Any more questions? Okay. Question number 2. What are some of the ways you will be a visible figure within the community for students and parents alike to see your involvement and participation in the community and not sit in the office?
Very important that a superintendent gets out of his office. Very important that he builds relationships with his principals. Very important that he builds relationships with his teachers and also with the communities. You know, that's going to be something that I'm going to take pride in. Getting out of my office, getting into these schools. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there are 18 schools in this school district. It's very important to be visible. Now, I mentioned earlier, she's a graduate of Pisgah. Am I going to spend my time at Pisgah all the time? No. Because why? I'm an advocate for all kids. I'm an advocate for kids at Woodville. I'm an advocate for kids at Skyline. I'm an advocate for kids at North Jackson. You know, I think that's one of my advantages coming into this school system. I don't have any direct ties to any community. Now, if I am your superintendent, I'm going to treat all of them alike. And I'm going to do what's best for every single one of them. Because again, it goes back to values. It goes back to my family. And my family taught me to do what's right. Not half the time, not 3/4 of the time, but every time. So that's how I would answer that question.
Mr. Story? Mr. Lyda? Mr. King?
Do you enjoy spectating school sports?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so you will be attending sports, games, etc. And how will you make sure that you're fair about not leaving the school out?
Okay, I'll be glad to answer that. Tomorrow night, North Jackson plays Guntersville. I'm going to be at that game. I'm not required to be there. Yes, I am an elementary principal, but I'm going to be there because my kids, I know those kids, they're going to be playing. And of course, I'm going to be rooting them on. But I also know that that's going to be a great game to go to. And then later on, spectating, I want to go to watch Pisgah play. I want to go watch Section play, North Jackson play, you know, Skyline. I want to get in those communities. It's very important that they see their superintendent. I want to get to know people there because I believe that is very important. You know, I can't wait to go watch North Sand Mountain play basketball. You know, when I was in school at Geraldine, I'm from DeKalb County. You know, that was a big rival at the time. Unfortunately, they beat us every single time. I think they averaged like 180 points when I was playing back then. Seriously, about 110. But again, I think it's important to get into the communities. They're going to be my kids. You know, all 5,000 to 6,000 of them. They're going to be my kids, and I want to share that responsibility in getting out into the various communities. I think that's very important.
Mrs. West?
All right.
Mr. Gore?
Outside of sporting events, how would you involve yourself in the communities?
Okay. Let's see. Well, as it relates to schools, I'll start there first. Let's say that there are Veteran Day programs. Again, I want to go to the Veteran Day program. I want to participate. Granted, I wouldn't be able to go to all of them if every school were to have one, but I would try to get out and visit, you know, with those various programs. If there was a community event, whatever the case may be, I would want to be there too. You know, I just think that's important. You know, being in Gunnersville, that's all I know. You know, I got to see my superintendent on a regular basis. My previous superintendents, I got to see them on a regular basis in my schools, in the community, at various sporting events, at various city functions. Again, that's all I know, and that's what I would do if I were to be appointed as your superintendent here.
Any other follow-up questions? Okay. I know how busy educators are, for instance, especially superintendents, but
Do you currently belong to any civic organizations that work with you?
I was part of Marshall County Leadership previously. I am an alumni member of Marshall County Leadership, but right now I'm not presently involved in any of the civic organizations.
Talking about the 9-month program you went through?
I'm sorry?
The 9-month program, that's the one you went through?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure is. Sure is. I'm a member of state organizations such as CLASS, but civic in my hometown, no, I'm not.
Thank you.